Hello, guys. You're watching GRTV. I want to add some things for perspective here. One of them being that sometimes you have a choice to do things, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have the options, you know, to to live in a nice way or whatever way. Sometimes you may not have even considered what you actually are wanting, and therefore when you have enough time or money, see, everything is about time and money. Like, for example, let's say you want to have a nice, and by the way, oftentimes people, however much their salary or income increases, it correspondingly their expenses increase. And so the free person, who is not a slave, who is not forced to work with people that they don't like, or do things that they don't want to, and have more time to really do what they think is the best thing they can do for the world. Sometimes the best thing they can do for the world is just a random, standard occupation, be it electrician, massage therapist, driver, computer tech, whatever, inventor, create whatever. But I think during certain circumstances, perhaps like now, for example, in the current history of the world, one of the things that needs to be considered is this idea that there's not enough uh, peace in the world, and that for whatever the circumstances are, people are required to suffer. And so, under the circumstances, people are suffering. So, what's the way to elevate ourselves collectively? Is it one specific thing? Is it multiple? What's the easiest way to help the most amount of people? Or what's the cheapest way to help the most amount of people? The easiest way might be some nice doors opening in the background. One of the new Ward Village towers here. Very respectable looking structures here. Some serious investment gone into play. People like to live in the Pacific Ocean climate and in a first world country. But how does that come about? Is it is the political system so corrupt? Is the government so corrupt? Or is there a certain stability that ensures that we can have reasonable comforts afforded to us, and even people who are poor or criminally disturbed have at least some either social nets that make it so things don't get too bad. Uh, all these things are worth examining, and in particular this evening here, I'm taking a close look at the investments and expenditures of time and money. So, for example, if you really want a place to live, or you really want a certain lifestyle, or you really want to have children, or something to that effect, um, what happens is you may be neglecting the bigger picture of, well, there may be thousands of people suffering, which and you could figure out a solution for even billions of people. You could figure out a solution to create a more favorable outcome for um, favorable outcome for the world. And the world being in the sense of that it's actually you. Because when you incarnate into your future incarnation, it's going to be you. And it could be at some random place in some poor, undesirable place. You just don't know. But here's what I do know is that, I have this want and desire for what people don't realize is the habits that they have are, they affect people. And like, for example, if somebody thinks that their life is not worth anything anymore or something, and they deviate from formality and class. Now, by the way, class doesn't necessarily have to do with financial status, but rather the way you approach or respect money, and also how you respect yourself and others' privacy, and give space to others. Certain more subtle things, or like not specifically wanting to have the type of relationships you want to have. Are they meant to be long-term and serious and formal and committed, or just casual and non-committal and informal and perhaps half-hearted and furthermore perhaps insincere? So all things to be doing some analysis on, guys. Getting back to this idea of, if you work a regular job, quote-unquote job, you have to, quote-unquote, you work a regular job, and then how do you even define regular? Like, what does that even mean? Like, does it mean that, check out the cool lights here, Buca di Beppo. Like, what does that regular even mean? Does that mean good or meaningful to you or meaningful to the world? And it's like, what are people willing to pay for? What are people willing to buy? If you had $100 and you would you, or if you wanted to make money, would you do that work, or would you help somebody else for free that you really cared about? Like, there's so many things to balance and calculate in life. If you really want to have a sense of control over your life, there's a lot of factors to take into consideration. And yeah, like this, like health and responsibility, like listening to yourself. You can listen to yourself, okay? And some people pay a lot of money for psychologists and that to just listen to these. It's just people listening to other people. That's really what it is, okay? So listen to yourself. When you have a thought in your head, disturbing thought, or either do some light work, like visualize the problematic people in question smiling. Imagine people at your workplace or whatever smiling in a joyful state, and program your mind to attract happy people, right? But alternatively, you can write down what you're thinking. You can write down, I'm having a tough time figuring out exercise, or whatever this circumstance may be. And just write that down, capture that thought so that it doesn't control you. And there's a cool building here. If you look at it, you'll see that its vertical structure, where is it? I can't even figure out where it is. Oh yeah, over there. There's the vertical structure. You can see it right um, there, up there. It actually it actually staggers out slightly, which is cool. Kind of staggers out. This is the new, like I was saying, Ward Village area in Honolulu, Hawaii. Some very attractive architecture, skyscrapers. And then there's like so many questions to ask. Like, what type of standard of lifestyle do you live in? Who should consume what? How, should we tax rich more than poor? I don't think so. I think everyone should be taxed equally. I don't get all of that stuff. And I also don't get how there's this expectation for to force people to do things, like force businesses to obligate them to hire a variety of people, or all that stuff like that. I'd rather, for example, okay, I'd rather, for instance, let's say a black person is upset and feeling entitled, whatever, just as a for instance, right? I'd rather that black person take a power position with responsibility and make a concerted effort to showcase and prove themselves to be great people who can contribute meaningfully and are, quality, classy people, and that person shows and reminds or confirms or represents that black people are great and just as great as other people. And the truth is that people do that, and so we just have to be observant of that, guys. We just have to be aware, all right, of the reality that people of every race or ethnicity do have nice qualities, and people of every race have bad qualities. So it's up to you who you're going to focus on. You know. That considered, though, again, I pose to you on this spontaneous expression of who do you want to invest in, who do you value, and sometimes it's just as simple as this question. If you had an X amount of time or money, what would you do with it? If you had X amount of, if you had $10,000, if you had $1 million, what would you do with it? You know, these are questions, if you don't know the answers to, if you don't have a schedule, if you don't have a sense of purpose and direction, like I want to do this in my life, if you'll be manipulated, or you'll be subject to the wills and influences of other people, and that could be something that you want to have consider other people's perspectives, but be careful, because if they have a strong will and they don't really care about you, they can't respect you as much and maybe consider your perspectives, then they may be just trying to take your time or energy. But then again, sometimes sometimes people, really you have to ask this question of what's a person's bottom line. Like, what's the most important things to you? Like, for me, it's respect of the sanctity of marriage, no intimacy, verbal or physical, before marriage, trying to be healthy, in the direction of veganism. What else is important to me? Let's see. Dressing well, talking formally, and dressing formally, talking formally, being, trying to be classy.